Welcome. You're tuned to the Urban Affairs program. It's time to get up for Urban Perspectives with your host, Pete Rhodes.
Welcome. You're watching Urban Perspectives. I'm your host, Pete Rhodes. On this edition of Urban Perspectives, we'll spotlight the Stair Step Foundation's health initiative, the booming construction industry and training in the urban communities for high-paying jobs, and we'll highlight the next generation of the Minneapolis Sound on this edition of the Urban Perspectives. My first guest, Reverend Babbington Johnson, is the CEO and founder of Stair Step Foundation. Their mission is to bring together urban communities and to bring resources to participate in the issues that are important to the communities it serves. Welcome, Reverend Babbington Johnson.
I'm delighted to be here, Pete, and congratulations to you and BMA on this extraordinary development, Urban Perspectives.
We're so happy to have you as our inaugural guest. And I want to start out by actually, you know, we recently worked with you as you collaborated with Mensure Health Exchange on an initiative to bring understanding and awareness for health insurance to our communities. How did that initiative start?
Well, it started out of the need. The uninsured in America are part of the difficulty in the rising cost of health care. And so African Americans represent a significant portion of that. And so Mensure wanted to do outreach, and we wanted to engage in a way that showed that as African Americans, our perspective makes a difference. And so we felt that there was a disconnect, a cultural disconnect with financial institutions for African American people. And so our proposal to Mensure for our involvement was to reach out and take that cultural disconnect on directly, as we did with you and others.
Now, the initiative also had a very interesting but helpful platform to bring awareness about the program and how to sign up in using navigators. How important was that to put it together that way?
Well, the underlying issue is, who do you trust? There used to be a TV show of that ilk, Who Do You Trust? Mm-hmm. Well, the point is, if the voice that's speaking to you is a voice that you associated more with used car sales or oppression of your community, that's not a voice that's going to be able to persuade you. So we recognize both institutionally, using the African American church, and then more directly using individuals in those churches to become navigators, to be in-person assisters, was a vital strategy to actually have people cross over and trust enough to enroll.
Now, you had a lot of partners. We traveled around to a lot of different institutions, and I need to know, how did you bring them together, and who were some of them?
Well, let me start by saying you were one of them. BMA and Insight News were very strong partners with us in capturing even the process of things and helping us then share the story going forward. But since 1995, Pete, we've been calling together African American churches because we believe that in terms of community development, we have this sleeping giant, which is the African American church. It has the credibility that is for years past, including the Civil Rights Movement, that if that entity can be drawn out of territorial concerns and brought into kingdom concerns and community concerns, that we as African Americans then have a powerful instrument to tackle any issue that faces us. So we happily thank God for partners in the African American church, Kojic with Bishop Washington, and the Baptist Conference with Pastor Russell, and presiding elder Ref, and Dr. Gill, who was the head of the St. Paul Ministerial Alliance. And these were our partners going forward as well.
Now, will this initiative continue, and if so, how so?
Well, we're excited about the possible continuance. We have at least proposed that we want to reach, Pete, not just African Americans. Now we want to go after what I call the immortals. They call them the invincibles. That's young people from the ages of 18 to 33 who really don't think that they may ever die or need a hospital or whatever, and as a consequence don't get insured. And we have devised a strategy that I think will be quite effective in reaching out to them.
Now, one of the other questions is, there are other programs that Stair Step Foundation has in place. Talk to us briefly about a few of those.
Let me say quickly, because if I don't, my wife will attack me. We have the Church Olympics coming up the 14th through the 19th of July. Wonderful, our 11th annual. But we're also working on something called the Belief Bowl. We want to take on the educational divide, and we think that we can. We think that this is a time in our community in which we better understand the problem because of the work of Eric Mahmoud in actually defining the 5 gaps, not a blob of a gap. And besides that, the great work that's being done by Harvest Prep and by Greater Friendship Academy using the notion of the growth mindset really has made a difference. So we're going to engage, Pete, in taking that on through the church network with something called the Belief Bowl.
Fantastic. Well, I do know about the upcoming Church Olympics because I've played a part in it, and I would encourage everyone to be a part of that Church Olympic at your church. It's all kind of sports and games, and it brings the community together in a fun way.
Egg and spoon race, Pete. You can win.
That's for me.
I think so.
That's this year, not basketball. Well, thank you so much for being here. And again, I encourage strongly for our individuals in our community to take part in Church Olympics. It runs July the 14th through the 17th. The kickoff event is at Roller Gardens in St. Louis Park. To see everything, just go on to stairstep.org and you'll find out. Stay tuned as we talk about education and employment training opportunities with Lewis King, president of Summit Academy OIC. This is Pete Rhodes introducing Continental Diamond in St. Louis Park. Voted by Minnesota Bride Magazine as the best jeweler for 3 years in a row. Continental Diamond in St. Louis Park is homegrown, and you can count on them for extraordinary commitment to value, service, and selection with one of the largest selections of diamonds, gold bracelets, earrings, wedding and engagement rings, and the best selection of watches for her and for him. Continental Diamond. Come in for that special jewelry gift for the season and get the deal of a lifetime at Continental Diamond. Twin Cities. Tune into the new social network, Comcast Channel 937 BMA, for the best in local and national artists in R&B, hip-hop, gospel, jazz, 24 hours a day. The new social network is BMA, Channel 937 on Comcast, featuring faces, places, spaces, local news, national views, and music all day. Tune into the new social network, Comcast BMA, Channel 937, and watch what we play. The 21st Minnesota Black Music Awards presents the Purple Rain 30th Anniversary Music Salute, featuring top local performances, continuing the legacy of the Minnesota Black Music Awards as the Upper Midwest premier stage for superstar performances and music recognition. It's the 21st Minnesota Black Music Awards Honors, August 3rd at the Dakota Jazz Club and Restaurant. For more information, visit bmahonors.com. Welcome back to Urban Perspectives. Summit Academy OIC is helping the urban communities find success in the construction industry. My next guest, Lewis King, President and CEO of Summit Academy, is here to discuss the institution and its successes. Welcome, Lewis King.
Good to see you, Pete. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Now that you're here, I'm glad.
It's good. It's been a long journey. Congratulations.
Yes, it has. Thank you so much. Well, let's talk about the opportunities for our communities to train for this booming construction industry, which you have been doing for quite a while. Talk to us about Summit Academy and what's happening there.
Well, the OIC celebrate 50 years of existence this year, and Summit has been in this community since 1967. As you know, though, 10 years ago we made a commitment to prepare for the demographic shift in healthcare and construction. That shift is upon us now. There's $1.6 billion in construction in downtown Minneapolis alone in the government sector, without speaking to the light rail that's coming or the things that's happening in the public sector. Plus 10,000 people turn 65 every day, and the average age of a construction worker is now over 50. This is a grand opportunity for people to get skills and get into the economic mainstream and in a profession that is traditionally not picked up on women and people of color, especially African Americans.
Well, some of the Academy's graduates have worked on some major projects already. TCF Bank Stadium, the Target Field, and even the light rail. Why and how do you put together partners to make these kind of projects available to the graduates?
Well, the first thing is we needed to keep this region strong. Infrastructure, not the weather, is the key to Minnesota. We have access to the Gulf through the Mississippi River and to the Atlantic through the lakes. So you have to have good roads and rails, and you got to be able to move goods and services. The industry is aging, and we saw that opportunity 10 years ago. We started working very hard. Of course, people were resistant to the idea initially, but we turned out a good product, and our people beginning to have influence. And further, it just flat out makes some sense. We give the companies good people, they're making money. Our people are making money. It's great for the community. Everybody wins. And we have partners from the East Metro all the way to North Minneapolis, including the faith community. So it's one of those things that everybody understands that the best social service program in the world is a job, and we're there to do that.
Speaking of which, you started a program that you and I worked on in terms of awareness for women in construction. Women wear hard hats too. How successful has that program been?
It's phenomenal. We're the leading producer of women in the construction trades. We've got national recognition for the program. It's growing. We've hired female instructors. It's taken on a life of its own. There's nothing better than to see. I have 3 daughters. And so if my girl says to me, if a woman can be an airborne ranger, dad, or a Navy SEAL, why can't she be a construction worker? So there's nothing better than to see women coming in there doing that work, earning that good money, getting careers, and being able to take care of themselves and their families.
You just mentioned that your motto is the best job in the world, best social service program in the world is a job. How did you come up with that motto, and explain the significance of it?
Absolutely. You know, a lot of programs that came out of the Great Society and the 60s movement were all about taking care of people. That time has come and gone now. The current efforts are yielding the current results. African Americans are at the bottom of the economic chain. Here in Minneapolis, we have the greatest disparities between African Americans and whites in the nation. And we have one of the most robust philanthropic communities. So if you could give your way out of this, if you could do enough charity to make African Americans whole and people of color whole, it would be working here. It's not. People need to work, they need to pay taxes, they need to take care of their families, set a good example for their children. I tell them, your children watch you work. If they don't watch you work, they're gonna not work when they're young, and they're gonna come live with you. How do you like that, all right? And so people get that, and it's not that we're begging or asking for anyone. We don't do finger pointing. We simply say we wanna do our fair share of the work.
Now, when we look at some of the other programs that Summit Academy OIC does, can you mention
sure,
one other important?
we have 2 divisions, healthcare and construction. Healthcare, because the boomers are going to consume a lot of it, and Babbington was just talking about the disparities in communities of color, and construction because of the eroding infrastructure. But in our healthcare program, you can become a community health worker, a pharmaceutical tech, a certified nursing assistant, and this fall we're actually launching night classes.
That is fantastic. Well, I want to thank you personally for allowing us to be a part of your work over these years, and continue doing the great job that you're doing over in our communities with Summit Academy OIC.
It's a pleasure, Pete. We need your voice to help us in this economic apartheid that we suffer under.
Well, we got it here for you. And before I let you go, you do workshops on a weekly basis, so we're going to talk a little bit about that as well, how individuals can come in and be part of the program weekly.
Absolutely. Every Wednesday morning at 10 a.m., 935 Olson Memorial Highway, 612-377-0150. We start classes every 10 weeks. We have one starting in a week and a half, roughly. There's no out-of-pocket costs. And when you get done, you can go from sitting on the couch to having a great career.
I've seen it work, especially with the women's wear hard hats, where they come in and they go right back out working immediately. So again, thank you, Mr. King, for being here today.
Thank you so much.
All right. You stay where you are, because weekly here on the Urban Perspectives, we present Shining Stars, highlighting people, places, and events that contribute to the vibrancy of the urban community. The Minnesota Black Music Awards promotes, preserves, and recognizes our music and art scene. Here's a look at the program on the Urban Perspectives.
The Minnesota Black Music Awards is the Upper Midwest's premier stage for superstar performances. Since its inception, over 300 local and national artists in R&B, jazz, gospel, hip-hop, and blues have performed at this music event. Founded in 1984, the MBMA Awards program has recognized over 500 musicians, artists, and industry professionals. The MBMA Awards has drawn more than 50,000 patrons locally and from around the world to attend this star-studded gala in the Twin Cities. The MBMA Awards mission continues to recognize, promote, and preserve the rich heritage and outstanding contributions of Minnesota artists and those influenced by the Minnesota sound. Visit www.bmahonors.com for historical facts and information on the upcoming Minnesota Black Music Awards honors.
Her first CD received critical acclaim in the Twin Cities for her songwriting abilities, and we all cheered when we saw her represent Minnesota on the hit series The Voice. Ashley DuBose is next on Urban Perspectives.
This is Pete Rhodes introducing Continental Diamond in St. Louis Park, voted by Minnesota Bride magazine as the best jeweler for 3 years in a row. Continental Diamond in St. Louis Park is homegrown, and you can count on them for extraordinary commitment to value, service, and selection with one of the largest selections of diamonds, gold bracelets, earrings, wedding and engagement rings, and the best selection of watches for her and for him. Continental Diamond. Come in for that special jewelry gift for the season and get the deal of a lifetime at Continental Diamond. Twin Cities. Tune into the new social network, Comcast Channel 937 BMA, for the best in local and national artists in R&B, hip-hop, gospel, jazz, 24 hours a day. The new social network is BMA Channel 937 on Comcast, featuring faces, places, spaces, local news, national views, and music all day. Tune into the new social network, Comcast BMA Channel 937, and watch what we play. The 21st Minnesota Black Music Awards presents the Purple Rain 30th Anniversary Music Salute, featuring top local performances, continuing the legacy of the Minnesota Black Music Awards as the Upper Midwest premier stage for superstar performances and music recognition. It's the 21st Minnesota Black Music Awards Honors, August 3rd at the Dakota Jazz Club and Restaurant. For more information, visit bmahonors.com.
It's my pleasure to introduce to the Urban Perspective audience a person whose talent is leading a new wave of the Minneapolis sound. Please welcome Miss Ashley DuBose.
Hello. Good morning.
How you doing?
I'm doing really well. Thank you.
We just saw you the other night over at the Urban League dinner, and it was a fantastic presentation you did, both in the beginning and at the end.
Thank you. It was an awesome event.
Well, talk to us a little bit, Ashley, because you know I've always wanted to know after going through and becoming a singer of your magnitude and an artist that's on the rise, when did you first get your voice? When did you know you had what it takes to do this type of program, so to speak?
Well, my earliest memory of really singing a song and feeling like it felt good, so I guess, you know, it sounds good when it feels good. Yeah. I was about 7 years old, singing along to the radio, and Lauryn Hill, well, the Fugees version of Killing Me Softly, they would play that a lot, so I knew all the words, and I would just sing right along to it. And like, that's my earliest memory. I don't know if back then I felt and I knew like, I'm gonna be a singer, but I remember later on when I was about 10 years old, writing songs in my room and recording on the tape player that was something I wanted to do. So I would say around that age of like 10, I knew that I wanted to be a singer and I wanted to make a career out of it. So.
How would you define your style? Because when we saw you initially and you became our emerging artist of the year there, you know, you had a different style.
Right.
So how you defined it?
Well, I'm ever evolving, and I'm subconsciously influenced by the music that I listen to, which is, there's a wide variety of music that I listen to. I would say the best word to describe my style is eclectic and soulful. As far as genre, I think a lot of people would say I'm in the neo-soul genre, and I think that fits because neo-soul even is kind of like a mixture of different, you know, styles, hip-hop, R&B, you know, so I like that. Neo-soul is like my warm spot.
Yeah. You know, we all cheered for you on your appearance on The Voice. You kept it low-key, too. We didn't know about it. I had just talked to you a few days before. So how did it all come about?
Well, you know, it started, The Voice came to St. Paul in July of 2012, and I auditioned in St. Paul. And I didn't get as far, so I didn't even get on TV. So like, you know, very few people knew that I had auditioned except for my family and friends. And then I found out 6 months later they were gonna be in Chicago, and I said, I'm gonna try again. So I flew out to Chicago and tried, and sure enough, I was advancing through each round, and it was surprising myself. I was like, as long as I get farther than I did the last time, I'll be good. But you know, it kept going and kept going, and there's rounds before they televise it, and finally it was the blind auditions, and that's when everybody got to see, you know, the chairs turn and everything. Was crazy.
It was blowing up. We saw you on the social media network. You're really into the social media network.
Yeah, and, gotta be. Yeah. As an artist, I really don't like social media, but you know, it's part of what I do.
You use it very well, and you're sitting there in that big red chair. It gave us all chills.
Had to put that up, right?
Yeah. We watched, and so it was really fantastic to see you representing the Twin Cities here. As part of this new generation of individuals like yourself. It's just fantastic. Speaking of which, we just saw you recently at one of the local events here in the Twin City area, and I've seen you there at Urban Leagues, Project Divas, and other programs that happen. You lend your support. How important is that for you and your career personally?
Yeah, and you know what, I think it's a two-way street. Like, at the same time, they're supporting me by allowing me a platform to come and share my gift, which is what I dream to do. And in turn, I get to learn about these communities and you know, give back, because it really is a domino effect. I've been supported on my way up by numerous charitable organizations and nonprofit organizations whose goal is just to help get people like myself to, you know, a better spot in life. A lot of times it's low income, focused on minority communities and things, and women and girls. So these things that make me who I am, such like Project Diva, their focus is helping young girls realize their potential, and that spoke to me so much, and I just think it makes sense to, when I'm at a place where I am, and as I continue along to, you know, where I want to be, to reach back and show these girls in these programs, or in other people participating in other organizations, that, you know, once you get to where these organizations are helping you go, make sure you do the same thing, and, you know, let people know you're just a regular person like them, and that you know, you're reachable, and it's really important for me to be reachable.
Speaking of your new project, you have a new project out, and talk to us a little bit about that, because I'm waiting for it, and so is my godson. He knows the last project, so let's talk a little bit about the new project. Perfect. Yeah,
so it's in the works. For those who are watching who don't know, I have an album out right now called Something More, and that came out in May of 2012. So since then, I've been pretty busy, needless to say, but I've found the time to work on a second album. And it's mostly done, but there's a lot that goes on outside of recording the music. Then there's the whole marketing and everything. So we're aiming for a fall release. I don't want to put any dates out there yet because we haven't determined that yet. But this one, I love that people are going to be able to hear the like the evolution of my sound and of my style. And like I said, I'm ever evolving. And I just, you know, life changes you. You get different experiences, and I put my life and my experiences into my music. So hopefully that's what they receive.
It's going to be fantastic. I know it. I want to thank you for being here with me on the inaugural show here with Urban Perspectives. And, you know, we had an opportunity to be a part of one of your videos, Kim and I. And you asked us, you needed some mature individuals to be in that. And every time we watch that video, it's great. And you worked with a great videographer on that. Who was that gentleman again?
Ben Hughes of Ben Hughes Studios. And thank you. Every time I watch that video, and it's called I Wanna Love. It's on YouTube, as you know, but and to let people know. At the end, I'm just like, man, you and Kim have been so supportive, and just that I can keep that forever and see that little kiss at the end. You guys really.
Thank you so much.
You mean a lot to me, and I appreciate your support.
Appreciate it. Thanks. Ashley DuBose here, and we thank her for her time, and continue to watch her, and we ask that you continue to watch the Urban Perspectives. I'd like to thank my guests, Reverend Babbington Johnson, Lewis King, and Ashley DuBose, and mostly importantly, I'd like to thank you, my audience, for getting up with the Urban Perspectives. Now enjoy Photos of the Week featuring the 18th Annual Hispanic Marketing Conference in St. Paul. I'm Pete Rhodes, and we'll see you next week.